Hey, everybody. Welcome back and happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Real Deal Pod with Allister and Geoff, where we share insights and information to all things real estate and mortgage related. Wow, it's getting sunny out there. I was a little bit afraid. It was cloudy. I've been in my office working all day, and so I was looking outside and thinking, okay, it's a gloomy day. I'm not missing too much, but now looking, it's starting to look bright and sunny. I hope all you guys had a great weekend. Thank you all again for listening. So excited for today's pod because as always, we've got Geoff here alongside me, and we've got a special guest. So let's kick it off. Geoff, my man, as always, how are you?
I am doing well. As you're saying, it's nice outside. I'm looking through my glass prison and I'm thinking it looks like it's rained. So I need to
Uh,
come a little bit closer to where you are.
Nice here in Clayton, my friend. It's always sunny in Clayton.
No comment.
Ah, come on. It's beautiful. So, how was your weekend, Brady?
You know what? Weekend was good. Grant Sauer, who is our special guest today, held a event at Hastings Race Course.
Oh, nice.
Hastings Race Course, is that what they call it? And
Yes.
he put on an Imani fundraiser, which went fairly well. And we ladies were in these things called fascinators. Uh, Guys were in suits. We were probably the best dressed group there, and didn't win any money, didn't lose any money. So it was a good day.
That's awesome. Was it horse racing?
Horse racing, yeah.
That's fantastic. My dad used to own horse races or race horses, sorry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we used to race them out of Assiniboine Downs.
Okay.
Yeah, back in Winnipeg. Yeah. So it was always fun going to the racetrack and watching them go. Wild to Go. That was the one that was our I think that was the first one we had, and that was I believe the most successful one we had. Yeah, it was Wild to Go. It was awesome.
Well, Grant, I don't know if you know, Alistair used to play, I don't know what they call it in Canada, but Div 1 university
University,
football,
yeah.
right?
CIAU. CIAU.
So now, and he was known for his blazing speed. And now that I know that your family had horse racing,
Horses. Yeah, race
I'm
horses.
curious, did you ever get like blood test or urine test to make sure that you didn't have any?
Yes, I did, but you always have
Okay.
to remember I've always been this skinny, so it wasn't like, it was like this dude is definitely not taking anything. There was there's no misconceptions that I was on any type of
Yeah.
substances. If you see me now, I look pretty much the same. Maybe a few pounds lighter, but not.
Well, and let's introduce Mr. Sauer. Mr.
Yes, let's
Sauer,
get to it.
tell us a little bit about you, what you do, your passions, your involvement in the community, a little bit of your business. Let us know what you're all about.
Well, I am an owner of Grant Sauer Notary Corporation. We have our main office in Walnut Grove, and I love to serve the community as a notary, and I'm involved in the community a lot. When I'm not riding my bike, I love to race with Geoff, and we've done some fondos together. We've ran lots of what are they called? The Abbotsford Grind together. Done some races, foot races together. I'm having some knee issues, so I haven't been running as much. Love to get off road, do camping, backpack. We did a backpack adventure recently up to Garibaldi. So I love to be outside. I love to be on the ice. I love playing hockey. I love serving my community. I'm involved, president of the Rotary Club of Langley Sunrise. That starts officially last week, and I will serve for 2 years. And so Rotary is all about raising money in the community to give back to the community. And so, like on the weekend, I spend a couple hours selling 50/50 tickets. I'm involved in putting on Rib Fest, which is an annual fundraising event here in Langley, down at McLeod Athletic Park by the airport, where it's a free event. We encourage donations at the gate. It's for children. It's got live entertainment. It's got ribs. It's got beer gardens. It's got non-alcoholic beverages. It's got vegan food. it is for the community to celebrate. And yeah, I'm excited to be involved in that, involved in other areas too in the community. And yeah, happy to be here in Langley.
That's
And
awesome.
I think it's important to note that Grant actually in 2023 won the Langley Chamber of Commerce Community Spirit Award, which is a very, very high accolade. So
Congratulations. Fantastic accomplishment. That's
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's great to be involved in the chamber and to be recognized for my involvement in the community.
Grant, how many offices do you have?
I have 3 offices. Officially, Walnut Grove is my head office where I have my staff, but I also have one in East Vancouver. And I do work on the Sunshine Coast as well, as there's not a notary in Gibson. So I do make myself available if there are people that want to use my services there.
Well, one of the things that I really like about your business as well, which is a little bit unique than other notaries, is that you're mobile. You can do mobile signings.
Yes, I'm willing. It makes me unique in that regards because I'm willing to go to your home, your workplace, a hospital or care home to get legal documents signed. And yeah, it does set me apart a little bit from the average legal professional.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
tremendous, tremendous service.
So Alistair and I are gonna do a rapid fire, not so rapid fire on you.
Yeah, we're not doing the Spanish Inquisition. It's not, we're not doing one of those police interviews, police interrogations on you.
Well, not yet.
Yeah.
We may. We may.
Why is the bright light on my forehead though?
Right? Oh, it might be my bald head shining off of my bright light over here.
It's all 3 of our bald heads,
3 bald heads
coming off.
It creates this immense glare. No.
So one of the questions that we have a lot
Yeah.
from clients, when we're referring notaries and solicitors, one of the biggest things that we always get is, well, hey, I want to use a solicitor because they're better than a notary.
Yes.
Or that's a real common thing that you hear. And I think it's really important to have an understanding, like, what is the difference between a notary and a lawyer? Like, how do you answer somebody when they actually have that understanding that, hey, I want to use a lawyer in my real estate transaction versus a notary because they're better? Like, how can we put some light to that or some clarity to that? Because a lot of people believe that, which I don't think is necessarily true.
So, of course, any kind of legal transaction when you're buying, selling, or doing a refinance is very detailed. And the nature of the transaction, of course, I don't know if you've ever been asked, can I do it on my own? I'd highly recommend an individual never do that on their own because it's out of the average person's wheelhouse of knowledge. And so then you have 2 options in British Columbia. You have BC Notaries or you have a lawyer. And BC Notary is a unique legal provision in Canada because we have the same capacity as lawyers in several areas. No other province in Canada has notaries with this legal authority other than Quebec. But of course, the legal system in Quebec is a French Napoleonic civil code where the rest of Canada is common law. So that sets us apart from Quebec. So BC is very unique. So we have BC notaries and we have lawyers. And so we can do similar things. So it's always important to hire a professional when you're dealing with one of the largest transactions you'll probably ever make in your life. And the transactions typically are usually straightforward, but they can get complex. We have private lenders, debts to be paid, property taxes, deferment, First Nations land or leasehold land. So it's important to ask a lawyer and a notary, is this work that you do? And some lawyers that are general practitioners don't generally do conveyancing, which is the legal term used for buying or selling or refinancing a home. So that's a very important question. Are they familiar with what they're doing? So for instance, this past week, we had a file referred to us by another notary because when push came to shove a week before completion, they found out that the transaction that was happening, the purchase was out of their wheelhouse because they didn't do First Nations land.
Yeah.
So I do First Nations land. So we were able to take that deal on at the last minute. So notaries and lawyers can do the same thing when it comes to conveyancing in British Columbia. We're giving that legal authority.
So I got two questions as I was listening to you.
Yeah.
So let's be clear. When you are purchasing something, refinancing something that is regarding a real estate transaction, let's be clear. Can you do that yourself?
I don't know how you could do it yourself. That's why I say it's way out of your wheelhouse because it's so detailed and complex. But I don't know. Some people like to bite off, an elephant one bite at a time and eat the whole thing. But so I wouldn't recommend it. But we do have sometimes people that come into our office and say they tried to register this change on title and it didn't work. Can you help us? So usually it won't work, and then you end up at a legal professional like a notary to try to correct it.
So what I'm hearing, it is possible, but not recommended.
Correct.
Right. Next question I have for you. With real estate transactions, so let's just talk about real estate because this is what this pod is all about. When it comes down to the education between a notary and a lawyer and conveyancing, is there any difference in that education and in that process?
Well, to become a notary, you need to have an undergraduate degree, and you need to have some accounting background, like courses in accounting now to get in. You have to actually write the LSAT. So to become a lawyer, you need an undergraduate degree. You have to write the LSAT to get into law school, which is 3 years. Notaries are educated in BC at SFU, and you have to finish a 2-year master's degree in applied legal studies. And we focus our education for notaries primarily on conveyancing, so buying, selling, refinancing, and estate planning. So dealing with personal preparation, wills, powers of attorney, that kind of stuff, representation agreements, where, of course, lawyers have a general knowledge of all legal things, and then they can choose to focus after graduation. So BC notaries are specifically trained in conveyancing rather than receiving a general legal education. We must take the required continued education courses, 12 credits a year, where that education has a significant portion of it directed towards conveyancing and changes and issues and legal cases. So the Notary Society is very good at keeping us up to date with that kind of changes. Where in contrast, lawyers aren't specifically trained in conveyancing, and they're not required to take specific training post-graduation, post-law degree in conveyancing. And in BC, notaries do 75% of the conveyancing, residential conveyancing. And that comprises like 85% of what I do every day as a notary.
So what you're saying, 75% of people that have some type of real estate transaction are using a notary.
Correct. In BC, that's what statistics have told us. Yeah.
Wow. So what are then, since that occurs, that makes me think that there must be a cost savings, I guess, to it. What are the typical costs and then associated with using a notary versus that of hiring a lawyer? Are there potential savings in fee structures between notaries and lawyers?
Well, I think BC notary fees are competitive with other legal professionals. Okay. Notaries usually charge set fees for conveyancing, where sometimes lawyers charge out at the hourly rate. And so that could be a difference. Costs for obtaining legal services vary from person to person, from office to office, from firm to firm. And so if it's a standard kind of transaction that has no things outside the normal process of buying, selling, or refinancing, then the fees are fairly set. Of course, like in any industry, you can have people that may charge less because they're hoping to get work in other areas, and some charge more because they feel their services are worth more. So I think if $50 or $100 is of significance to you, that's usually, we get people that call around to try to get prices, and they'll say, well, the guy up the street is, $50 more than you. So you're going to match his price. So obviously you can do that.
$50 more and you're going to match the price. That's a pretty good deal. $50 less.
$50 less. Thank you. You mean I'm $50 more. He's the guy down the street's $50 less. Yes, thank you.
I'd be like, wow, that's a pretty,
Deal.
hey, there's is 1,600, yours are 1,500, but can you give it to me for
Can you charge
1,600 and
us
I'll come and visit?
1,600? Exactly. That's
You
my
got
kind of client.
it.
That's too funny.
So I
That's too
think,
funny.
generally speaking, lawyers that focus on conveyancing, which some law offices do, are very competitive. But
Okay.
law offices that don't focus on conveyancing, I would assume are often more expensive because it's not in their wheelhouse.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and one thing that you touched on, I was actually working on a file for actually a private file on some native lease land up in Kamloops, actually, and who we would normally use as far as the lender's lawyer in that it wasn't in their wheelhouse, and they actually had to refer it off to somebody that specialized in that. And then obviously, when it's a little bit more unique, there's a little bit bump in the price because of the specialty that it involves. So I think, Grant, and correct me if I'm wrong, like realtors, like mortgage brokers, like home inspectors, everybody isn't built the same,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So that being said, like what are some things that you specialize in, your office specializes in, that maybe an average notary doesn't, and one of those being native lease line. Like, so what other things should people be looking at or asking notaries as far as what, outside of just those common everyday things that everybody needs to know? And I often kind of say to people is like, hey, if you have a great job, you have a great credit, you have a down payment, my 9-year-old kid can do your mortgage. They're that easy, right? But if you're self-employed, you have not a high reporting income, you could be some credit challenges. Then you need somebody that's a little bit more specialized in that. And again, everybody is not built the same as far as handling that kind of file and making it seamless. So what are some of the things that say Grant Sauer Notary can bring to the table and help people with that maybe an everyday notary cannot?
Well, we're classified as a full service notary office. So if you're buying a new home or used home, an acreage or a condo, again, we deal with manufactured homes, which is unique as well. Some offices won't do that. We do First Nations land, we do leased land, whether it's in Vancouver or not. And so notaries in general have no restriction on the type of properties that we can help you buy, sell, or refinance. We can work with your lender, major banks, and credit unions. Exceptions do come to notaries when it comes to commercial purchases or sales, because I can do as a notary, and I have done commercial transactions, but I can't as a notary do a share transaction because the Notaries Act limits us from doing corporate transactions. And so I can't deal with shares in a company if you're buying or selling that when you're selling your commercial property. That's exclusively in the lawyer wheelhouse.
So in layman's terms, Grant, because again, I always believe in basically explaining it in kindergarten language. What exactly does that mean in simple language, like shared transactions? Because a lot of people
Shares.
are.
So if you're a company, you've got shares. And so therefore you're selling your company. You're not just selling the commercial property, you're selling your company that owns the commercial property. Therefore, you're selling your company, which has shares. So anytime you have an incorporation, you have shares that you're dealing with, and therefore I can't deal with that transaction.
Right. Got you. I have so many questions, Alistair. I feel like I feel like I'm the
No, 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 that's okay. I was gonna let you keep going. I have one though, because you know me, I'm really big and my business is really big on and based upon communication. So one of the things that I was wondering is how notaries communicate and support clients throughout the real estate transact process in BC. And really,
can you ask that question again? I missed it.
Sorry, I was just wondering how notaries communicate and support clients throughout the real estate transaction process in BC. And really what can clients expect in terms of responsiveness, availability, and customer service from a notary compared to maybe that of a lawyer?
I think in our world, customers always come first. And my own personal flair in my business is high people skills and the desire to work closely with individuals, a general care and love of people, trying to help them, patience to listen, keen problem solving skills. And so that comes down to celebrating with the client in their sale or their purchase, congratulating them on their refinance. This is a big decision, and it's usually the largest, most expensive decision you're making in your life. And so we want to make sure that we acknowledge that. And then we begin our communication by providing our clients with a secure portal that they use to communicate their personal information to us. And my staff speak with clients on the phone. They answer questions to gather the information needed. We call, we email, we use our secure portal to ensure there's open lines of communication. We speak with mortgage brokers, we speak with realtors as needed. And when we're doing private financing or private deals, then there's a lot more communication with the broker, with the realtors if they're involved with the client. And the best part of using a notary is that we're available, we're accessible. I designed my office so that I'm at the very front. When you walk through the door, you see me. I'm not hiding in the back room. You can see me, you can talk to me, you can call me, you can drop in without an appointment, though of course we prefer appointments because I might not be here. I could be at the bank because again, I believe I don't hire somebody to go do my banking because I believe I want to be involved in the community. Right. I do my own banking. I go to all the different banks every day dealing with all the transactions. And so that I'm known in the community and I'm a part of the community. So I just want that real personal flair and personal communication. My staff are phenomenal with communicating with clients.
I love that. No, and just as we know, like the communication between, real estate to client, client to mortgage broker to lawyer, notary, whomever you're using. We always talk about that communication within your power team. It's the most important part of that process. Because when the communication breaks down, the transaction breaks down, right? And that's like you were saying, this is the biggest investment of your life, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Geoff, sorry, keep going. I don't want to hog the spotlight here.
Well, no, I think again, just to kind of bring it back on the tracks as far as the difference between a notary and a lawyer. Like I had 7 questions that I really kind of wanted to ask, and Grant, I'm going to circle back to these 7. And again, because the whole idea of this pod is what is the difference between a notary and a lawyer, because so many people will always come to us and say, hey, I want to use a lawyer because of this versus a notary. So keeping this in mind, I want you, to kind of in your own words, a notary is different from a lawyer. Or is there any difference when it comes to real estate transactions with the role and specialization from a notary to a lawyer?
There is no difference between what we do outside of notaries cannot do commercial deals that involve a company being sold. Otherwise, we are equal in that regards. Like when it comes to even legal advice, many people think notaries can't give legal advice. BC notaries can give legal advice about buying, selling, or refinancing a home. In fact, we're required to do so. We're held to the same standard that a lawyer is, and the Supreme Court of BC holds us to that standard.
I have another question because this comes up to me all the time. Independent legal advice. Can a notary give independent legal advice?
We give independent legal advice all the time when people are giving up interest in a home for bringing a family member on title and then there's no exchange of money. Yes, we do that.
I think that's a big misconception that people have, where people believe that only solicitors can give independent legal advice. So that brings clarity there. Is there a difference between a notary and a lawyer when it comes to legal authority and expertise? And again, we're talking about real estate transactions.
There isn't, because it's our bread and butter. It's what notaries do every day, all day in my office. That's what our focus is upon. And so the separation would be between a law office that does conveyancing occasionally. they do it, one or five files a month versus, us doing it every day. So that makes a significant difference then on the focus.
Right. So again, really, there is no difference outside. Maybe a notary is better because you've been trained in that and also specialize that on the daily.
Correct.
Is there any difference in the document preparation and or review of those documents when dealing with a real estate transaction?
We are held to the same standard as a lawyer in that regard. So we review the contract of purchase and sale. We can write private contract purchase and sale just like a lawyer. We perform the same standard searches, title searches, property taxes, utilities. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I was.
There's extra services that we can provide, such as reviewing a title, reviewing strata documents, reviewing your plan for your property. So as a notary, we can complete files quickly as well, a couple of days, the same day. Of course, there's more costs associated with that, especially if you're doing with strata. BC Notaries complete approximately 75% of all real estate transactions in the province. So it's stuff that we do every day, and so it's familiar to us.
And again, always people will think that a notary is cheaper than a lawyer. Is there truth to that, or that just comes down to people's, a notary's business model or a lawyer's business model? Is a notary cheaper than a lawyer, or is a lawyer more expensive than a notary?
They can be. It all depends on the firm, and obviously prices are set by notaries themselves. And the difference between notaries and lawyers is often the notary owns the company. A lawyer may work for the company, has no control, where I have control over my prices. So if someone comes to me and they go, okay, can you give us a better deal here? Yeah, I'm open to that. And when they're in my office signing, that we're open to that, right? So we have a little bit more control. One of the unique things that notaries can do that lawyers are unable to do right now, post-COVID, notaries are able to sign virtually with clients that own property in BC that are outside the province. The Law Society of British Columbia does not allow lawyers to sign virtually. So if you're in China and you need to sell a property in BC, we can sign with you virtually, where Law Society does not allow lawyers to do that. So that sets us apart.
Yeah, that's a big thing, actually.
That's huge, a huge one.
Yeah. Obviously, with the foreign buyers tax that, or the foreign buyers ban that's on right now. But prior to that, we were doing a lot of overseas investors coming here to Canada and purchasing, and having that virtual signing opportunity where you're outside of Canada. You're purchasing a property here, say within BC, to have that virtual signing is a huge game changer. Whereas, again, realtors were not aware of that. Brokers were not aware of that. And there was some scenarios where actually people were flying from out of country to come to Canada and do the signing. So I think that's a big thing that people need to know.
Yeah, it is. Yes. That was a huge miss of communication, because it was something that I didn't know for a very long time. And very big miss in communication there.
I have one more question, and then I'm going to hand this off to Allister and see if he can blast you with any, but I blasted you with a few. I always get confused when people give pricing and they say, well, your price is $1,500 plus taxes plus disbursements. And then all of a sudden the bill comes in, that $1,500 now is about $2,300, and it's all about the disbursement. So in simple kindergarten language, Grant, can you tell us and everybody else on this pod what disbursements means?
Disbursement. So whenever we quote our legal fee, and then we quote a price that includes taxes, disbursements, and registration if you're buying. So disbursements are your land title office costs, and they also include that kind of stuff. That's our disbursements. And then additional costs. So we'll give a price, to purchase under $1,500 with a mortgage. That includes taxes, disbursements, and registration. If you want to sell with a mortgage, includes taxes and disbursements under 1,200. Therefore, anything in addition to that is what we call third-party costs. So those aren't our costs. Those are costs that incur because you're doing this transaction. So you have your strata costs. You've got your strata form fees. You have insurance binders. You have title insurance. You have, lists of things like that that are additional costs. So then you're looking at anywhere between $500 to $1,000 for that kind of stuff. In addition to what I would quote, everyone quotes differently. So you have to make sure you understand what was I quoted. So my office always quotes taxes, disbursements, and registration when you're purchasing.
Yeah, I think it's really important for our listeners that when you guys are going to get pricing, is always ask what that pricing is all in, right? Because
well, again, all in is a difficult question because we can't tell you what it's all in if you're buying strata, because the strata costs vary from strata to strata. Insurance binders vary, title insurance varies. So we don't give all in prices. We can give you approximate what all in would be, but we can't give you a definitive because your strata that you're buying into has their own fees that differ from the condo beside you.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, an ish kind of value. I've had clients where they've come back to us and and their legal costs were just something very different than what they believed them to be, because they didn't have an understanding that when they were quoted, and I'm just going to use $1,500 as a number, they didn't have an understanding how much tax was that, which is a fairly simple thing to understand, but they really didn't understand the cost and the disbursements, right? So moving forward from way back then, I've always kind of advised our clients, hey, is when you are talking to your solicitor and or your notary, always make sure that you ask what that ish value or that ish cost is going to be. That includes the disbursements, that includes the taxes, that includes, that legal cost. Because the worst thing, Allister, and I think you will agree, and Grant, is when people are sitting down at the end of their biggest purchase of their life, and they're basically coming out of your office with a real ugly
Sauer.
taste in their mouth because they weren't properly informed or didn't ask the right questions, and all of a sudden, your most pleasurable purchase in your life becomes a little bit more distasteful.
Yeah. That's
So
why
things that you have to
it always seems to start with the realtor story, because that's the question that we get asked is, what's the cost of sale going to be? And we're asked, well, what do you mean, what's the cost of sale? Well, commissions, and what is going to cost me for the lawyers and this tax and that tax and the mortgage people. And it's, well, that's the part now where all that investigation comes. Now you got to start talking to everybody and asking everybody who charges what and how much. And that is, it's true.
Important things to consider when you're buying is, of course, the property transfer tax. Yeah. So I know as realtors, you talk to your clients about that. The adjustment for property taxes is always an adjustment. So that either adds to your bill, your legal bill, or is a credit. Your maintenance fee is an adjustment. Strata fees, move-in fee. We can have $200 move-in fees. So you can have a $500 move-in fee. You have to, look into that before you buy your strata. What's it going to cost you? Your strata fees we do an adjustment for. We always pay the next month's strata fee. Usually stratas always put us on undertaking to do that. So that's another cost that adds to your bill. Tax search cost is over $100, $125. Then you have land title, trust admin fee. You got, so all the land title fees are addition to taxes, disbursements, and registration. Disbursements would include stuff in our office costs as well.
Photocopies, but you're not charging $1 for a photocopy, are you, Grant?
Yeah, photocopies are included in there. We're always photocopying stuff. Though we are a paperless office, we have to sign still on paper.
I saw this statement of adjustments was like $1 per page for photocopying.
For black and white.
I'm like, oh my Lord.
Right? That's theft is what that's called.
Just crazy. Yeah. One of the biggest things, again, and I'm glad, Grant, you brought this up, is the education when purchasing the property transfer tax. How many times, and I won't put you on the spot, Grant, unless you want, like how many times people are in completing their purchase and they don't even know, and they haven't even been discussed by the realtor or the broker about property transfer tax. And that's like 1% of your first 200,000 and 2% of the remainder. Like that is a huge, significant amount of money that people need to understand that these are the closing costs of your purchase. And for them not even to have an understanding of a property transfer tax just boggles my mind.
I will say that is, it's crazy. And I will say that we get the fear instilled into us that if we give any type of tax advice, though, like as realtors, if we give any type of tax advice, well, now we could get sued. So now you have realtors that are out there that are afraid to even mention. So it's just always, well, you're going to have to talk about that with your tax professional. Now, granted, if you're, one of the better realtors, you'll have the calculator with you that you'll be able to input the number of the home that they're purchasing that will give them their property transfer tax. And you'll say, this is the approximate value, but just make sure that when it comes to closing that's right. But this is kind of what you could imagine to see. Now, that's the education that they should be getting. But unfortunately, from our end, I know that it's constantly instilled into us that if you give any type of advice, you're putting yourself in the line of getting sued, which I feel is absolutely criminal to a client when we're supposed to do our job in educating clients, that it's stopping kind of right there and they're not getting an education, they're getting a surprise at the end.
Yeah.
It's rare. It's very rare that they show up in my office and they're surprised by property transfer tax. It does happen, but it's rare. So it's good.
I think the biggest surprise sometimes comes with a property tax adjustments, right? As far as who's paid the property tax, and then there's either a credit or there's a payment there. I think the other things that we see sometimes is strata adjustments. Those can be a surprise as well. I always tell our clients, and this is not for every client because sometimes first-time home buyers are excluded in this, with closing costs, usually add 1.5% to your purchase price. And that will typically cover all your closing costs, your property transfer tax, your legal fees. It's not a dead on number, but at least you're educating them in some way and or format that gives them a understanding as far as, hey, there's more to this than just the down payment. And, and again, you're going to have to come up with about another 1.5% of the purchase price when you're dealing with your notary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you want to know another significant difference between a notary and a lawyer?
Absolutely.
Okay. So notaries are all about non-contentious law. So we're not dealing with conflicted law. We're dealing with law that is already set. So a contract of purchase and sale is in place, a mortgage is in place. So we're doing what's called happy law. We're dealing with happy stuff. So usually the legal professional that's doing your conveyance, a notary, we can't go to court. We can't represent you in court. But if you're using a lawyer, if they do conveyancing regularly, they're not going to go to court for you either. They are not going to litigate for you because that's not in their wheelhouse. A good conveyancer is not usually good in court because that's a different focus of law. And so even if you go to a lawyer, which many people say, well, I'm going to use a lawyer because they can represent me in court. It's not going to be that lawyer that you sat in front of to sign your purchase. It's going to be a different lawyer, maybe in their office or in a different law firm. And they're going to refer you, just like I would refer you, to a competent professional who would represent you.
That's an amazing piece of knowledge. Amazing. That's actually, I didn't know that. I actually didn't know that. That's fantastic.
And I like that you always leave a good pot on a golden nugget. So that's what we're going to do here. So Grant, just remind us, where are you located?
I have an office in Langley, right by the Keg in Walnut Grove, by the movie theaters. I have clients that come to my office from Abbotsford, Chilliwack, Mission, Coquitlam, Maple Ridge, because I'm right at the 200th Street and the freeway. My office in East Vancouver, I get clients from Delta because I'm located on Kingsway and Rupert, Burnaby, Vancouver, North Vancouver, New West, and of course in Sunshine Coast, Gibsons. If you need a notary out there, I'm happy to help you with your legal professional needs over there that are non-contentious.
And to confirm, if need be, you will do mobile signing.
If that's a service that's needed, I was at a house this week where the individual needed me to come and sign with them. I'm going to a care home on Thursday to sign some estate documents with clients. So yes, that's a service I provide.
And I just want to bring some end clarity. If people are coming to you with a higher price and you have a lower price, you are not going to match the higher price.
That is really good clarification. If the client wants me to match the higher price, I'd be more than happy to do that. But generally, I would want to go down.
That's good customer service right there. I love it.
Right. You know what? There's one thing I need to say, because when I was looking through the internet before I did this beautiful podcast with you guys, it's great to be on your podcast, which has got renowned interests I've heard all over the world. Insurance. Insurance is an important thing when it comes to legal professionals. BC notaries must carry professional liability insurance in order to maintain their ability to practice law in British Columbia. We have the BC Notaries Captive Insurance. And we, as BC Notaries, make an errors and omission ability so that people can be compensated for loss. Just like lawyers, we have insurance, they have insurance, we have insurance, and BC Notaries love to work closely with legal professionals like mortgage brokers, realtors. Those, of course, are our biggest referral partners. And we do all that we can to solve problems. If there's problems in the midst of the completion, notaries are very good at trying to negotiate problems before it closes, and if need be, after it closes, which is rare, but it does happen.
I think that's also important too, is Allister, I don't know what your experience is but when clients have their own people that they're working with for whatever reason, it seems like when there's a speed bump in that closing process, there are some solicitors and notaries that just cannot figure it out. They're now giving you a call, they're making stress on the client. And you know, when we refer our notaries out and we refer solicitors out, and Grant is one of the people that we refer out to all the time, you know, these people just know how to fix the problem, right? And quite often, actually all the time, we're not even hearing about the problem. There is nothing worse than having a working professional where they can't fix that problem or deal with that problem internally without stressing out the entire
situation.
Process.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Allister, I'm going to hand this off to you to close her down.
Awesome, buddy. Well, guys, as always, Grant, Geoff, thank you, man. This has been an absolutely amazing pod. Thank you guys all for listening, as always, and your comments and your encouragement. We, as always, try to bring as much value as we can to you guys every day so that we're always empowering you along your journeys and your desires within real estate. Continue to listen to us on Spotify, Apple, and wherever you get your podcast content. We love you guys listening. You guys all have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the week. Oh, special shout out to my clients who went live last Friday on the listing. We held open house. We just sold the property, guys. Took us 3 days from open house to getting the offer on the Monday. So the market is super busy. I am actually, again, running out right away to go see somebody about listing their property as well. So everybody, have an amazing weekend. Again, thank you everybody for listening. Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast content, continue to listen to us. Go visit Grant's website, utilize him as a notary. As you can see, the knowledge and what he brings to you should be part of your power team. Continue to reach out to Geoff and myself as well. As always, guys, thank you and have a wonderful day.
Yeah. And hey, big shout, Grant Sauer Notary Public. Use them, check them out. They're rock stars.
All right, peeps. Talk to you.
Y'all have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye now.